wisdom that we see assembled here to the resolution of problems and issues that the world is confronted with in the 21st century may not surpass what governments can do, but is essential to allowing governments to do what they find it within possibility to achieve. I would like to, I hesitate to borrow your phrase, sir, of a congratulatory message, because I think this is not really a moment so much of congratulation or felicitation, but really of reflection. And that is the power that the young minds who have come here from Aspire bring to us. And I would just like to suggest one brief thought to you when you think about the academic impact and when you think of what this country has done for it, unifying all its members under the umbrella of UNAI Korea. You know what UNAI stands for. Think for a moment, if you will, of what Korea stands for. And I'd like to suggest that to you. I would like to suggest that the K stands for the most essential ingredient of the academic impact, that is knowledge. And by knowledge, I do not mean simply the acquisition of facts. The great poet of my own country, India, who was so beloved in East Asia, particularly in Korea and Japan, Rabindranath Tagore, once said, "What use is it to teach a child geography if we rob him of the earth? What use is it to teach a child grammar if we rob her of language?" So the knowledge that we seek is really beyond facts or data or items that can be put to rote, but a knowledge that is alive, that expands, and knowledge that can be challenged and put to use. And this is why we have as our principle the culture of intellectual social responsibility. The O in Korea, I would venture to suggest, stands for openness. The fact of being able to accept everything not just for what you're told it is or for what you believe it is, but for what you want it to be. The great Korean poet Kim Chon-soo once wrote about her beloved saying, "My beloved came to me and he became a flower." That idea of being able to transform an individual into something poignant. And this goes beyond Korea. The university that Chancellor Sato heads, J.F. Oberyn University, think of that name, Oberyn, the three syllables, O-Ber-Rin. O stands for cherry blossoms. B stands for beauty. Rin stands for the forest. So again, you have a name that we remember, but you have to be open to what it really symbolizes and the power that you can draw from it, the lesson and the inspiration that you can draw. The R in Korea, I would venture to say, stands for research. And Professor Yonggil Kim has captured this very eloquently in his remarks. And he has always been at the forefront of arguing for what he calls collaborative research. Because the research that we undertake today is no longer in the isolation of individual laboratories or classrooms, but the world together, that the internet, communications have allowed this facility to reach out, to touch, to communicate, to learn, and together to work to make this world a little more sane, a little more livable. And that sense of research is something, again, which animates the academic impact. The E, I would venture to say, stands for ethics. And this is something which I think we sometimes lose sight of. Because if we are to abandon our ethical values, be they moral, be they spiritual, be they religious, be they cultural, and turn ourselves entirely into the relentless pursuit of fact and solution, then we diminish ourselves as human beings. And what is worse, we diminish the possibility of the solutions that we are trying to achieve. So whatever we are trying to do, and I say this with all respect to my young friends, please always undermine that by a sense of what is good, of what is just, of what is proper. And that sense of ethics also prompts you to say that what you can do individually may be enormously powerful as the executive director told us in his metaphor about the journey. Think of the other Korean proverb, even a single sheet of paper is lighter when many hands lift it. So let that be the ethical premise that is the foundation of the United Nations, that collectively we can do much more than we can dare to do individually. And finally, the A in Korea. And I'm going to suggest a rather unusual word, which is probably appropriate as all of us in this nation prepare to celebrate Chuseok in a few days' time, and that is ancestry. In many cultures of the world, in Korea, in my own culture, we have a sense of reverence for people and institutions that came before us. And that is something, again, I think we in the academic impact must remember. Because even if we are trying to break new frontiers, create new dimensions, conquer new disciplines, we must understand that there were the men and women who built Bukhara and Samarkand, Al-Farabi in Kazakhstan, these individuals whose heritage has sustained us and made this world the creative world that we live in. And so whatever we do, let us look to the future, let us live in the present, but please let us not forget the past. With those thoughts, I look forward to a day of excitement, of deliberation, and a day for us of the United Nations of going forward with you. Thank you.
Now, if I may, I would like to ask Dr. Toyoshi Sato, the Chancellor, JF Oberlin University and affiliated schools in Japan, to address keynote speech. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Dr. Yang Gil Kim, Dr. Sun Ham-si Ji, and Mr. Ramu Damodaran of the United Nations, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. I'm deeply honored and delighted to be here for the second UNAI Collegian Paper Contest and Global Conference to speak about the issue that is very important. The power of higher education to foster global citizens. I especially thank Dr. Yang Kim for inviting me to attend this great opportunity. On the Secretary General's initiative to link up with the academic institution through UNAI, I truly appreciate that Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, opened the door to the academic community when UNAI started. I think it was a great opportunity for any higher education institutions to join the global education network in order to strengthen the collaboration. We should keep trying to share the ideas and values with each other and create not just a network but also a face. The 10 principles that are at the center of UNAI provides a shared framework to realize a global community our students will become part of. Thus, it is necessary for UN leaders and the higher education leaders to work together to strengthen the tie. On UNAI's progress so far, it is amazing to see So many colleges and universities participate in UNAI. The first step was to increasing the number of institutions that get involved in UNAI and to start sharing that they do as part of this global project. In this sense, UNAI was very successful in its first 3 years. When you visit the website of those institutions, you find so many schools publish and update what they do around the UNAI principles. I also hear from the leaders of those institutions that UNAI helps them to globalize their schools. I believe the UN and the academic communities are creating a win-win relationship. On UNAI's next steps, it is important to plan the next strategy to realize UNAI's goal. Also, I would be really appreciated if the UN leaders can go visit different countries and meet with the leaders and students of higher education to explore how and why those institutions work along with UNAI. I am pretty sure that each school or country is facing different problems in different situations. To make this happen, we can ask various academic societies or a conference to invite UN leaders so that they can meet with the academic communities. By the way, J.F. Oberlin University, my university, is a hub school of UNAI. As a part of the role, we published a book titled Part1-2 Peace, Interviews with 3 Nobel Peace Laureates. The idea was to publish a textbook which can help students be interested and understand the basic philosophy and ideas of the United Nations Charter. We published it as a not-for-sale book so that anybody in the world can read it for free. All the contents were digitalized into a PDF format and uploaded to our website. Our role as the UNAI hub of principle number 1 is to create a bridge between higher education institutions and the United Nations. The UN Charter can be translated for educational purposes. It is the foundation of the UNAI principles. Thus, our most important role is to create and show pathways to everybody. According to program today, we are expecting presentations of the issues of environment, technology, poverty, education, global citizenship, and so forth. We tend to think of our local problems, but think it is important for all of us to look at these global issues as our own. In the global societies of information, communication, and transportation, what happens in one place travels very fast to another part of the world with various effects. In this sense, we cannot be local anymore. What we do, it goes global, because we are connected with each other as the global citizen. There are many challenges and problems in the world, but I believe that our voices from the different sectors and different people can take us to a more unified society in which people face the ongoing facts of the world and solve the problems with an intellectual society. Human society is where those with different cultures, religions, and values coexist and cooperate. It is especially necessary to respect the culture, religion, and history of other countries and to understand each other's perspectives. I often say that a key word as we progress towards the end of the 21st century, what we call kyosei in Japanese, originating in the biological concept of symbiosis. Kyosei is recently often translated into English as living and working together for the common good. Today, I see a moment of kyosei in which we gather and work together for the common good as the global citizen. I'm grateful that so many distinguished undergraduate and graduate students get together here and collaborate with each other for a better world. In closing, I would like to recite two quotations. The first is from Charles Darwin, the author of On the Origin of Species, who said, "It is not strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." The second is from the American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, whose Serenity Prayer read as follows: "O God, give us serenity to accept what cannot be changed, courage to change what should be changed, and wisdom to distinguish the one from the other." Taken together, these quotations suggest that as society continues to change at a dizzying pace, university must also change as necessary in order to survive. However, I would take this idea one step further to suggest that as institutions of higher education, we must change not reactively but proactively as a force of good. I thus close my remarks with my hope that during its second half-century of existence, UNAI will continue to be pioneer in working for humanity and for peace throughout the world. And of course, Aspire must be a visible power of higher education to foster global citizen and make our future. I hope this conference will be a fruitful one for everybody, and more importantly, you make new friends. Thank you very much, and good luck.
This is the end of the opening ceremony. Please join me to give them a warm round of applause to the speakers. Now we will have a group photo session. Because of the limited amount of space, we cannot take a picture all together. Please understand this. Participants who were asked to join a group photo session, please come forward and line up. Ambassadors, presenters, judges, UNAI personnel, distinguished guests, please come forward. 빨리 사인을 줘서. 다 오른쪽 괜찮고. I think we are ready. 1, say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. You may back to your seats.